Assalamu alaikum and welcome once again to Fit Fusion, where we discuss your easy way of getting fitter by the way of diet, a good healthy lifestyle. Now, what does that all entail? As always, I have a brilliant guest with me, and today I've got Olariu, who's a fitness coach, physiotherapist, and we will be covering why intermittent fasting is so important and how to actually do that, because there's so many different ways of doing intermittent fasting, on a weekly basis, daily, how many hours you should eat and how many hours you should not eat, and then sleep comes in play and so many other things. And this is why Raz is here with me to explain. Once again, welcome to the show, Raz.
Alaikum salam. Thanks. Back here with you.
That's brilliant. I like the way you say alaikum salam. I got to say salamu alaikum first. That's a reply. Thank you very much, Raz, once again. It's always a pleasure to see you. Now, with intermittent fasting, we always hear these other terms. What's that? Autophagy, ketosis. So explain to us what that is and why the other two terms are always mentioned as well.
Yeah. So let's start slowly. We start with the intermittent fasting. It's basically a way of eating, so you get to certain benefits like weight loss and certain health benefits. Now, you mentioned autophagy and ketosis. They are both linked with, and they're both triggered by intermittent fasting, but they both work very different. Yeah. So intermittent fasting, people are trying to do this in certain ways in terms of how often are they eating. Some people would prefer to do like a 8-hour window where they eat, not 8-hour window, and then they are fasting for 16-hour window. That's like the basic. That's how it starts. And then some people can extend that fasting period and then downsize the window where they are eating that. Yes. So the main benefit of and why people are doing it is for weight loss purposes.
Right.
Yeah. So what happens in the first 12 hours or so of fasting? Basically, you're going to trigger ketosis.
Okay.
It's the time where the body switches from burning carbohydrates to produce energy to ketones, which are produced in the liver for you to have energy. And then if you extend the period of time of 24, for some people might be to 48 hours, then autophagy kicks in. Autophagy is a little bit different than ketosis, where I mentioned that ketosis helps you to produce energy. Autophagy is basically a mechanism where the body is cleansing himself, specifically on a cellular level.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a way of cleaning the cells, of cleaning the residue, the litter, recycling some of the elements in the cell, but also in some situations, it eats the cell, yeah? Because the term autophagy, it basically means self-eating or self-digestion, basically, And yeah, it's a way of the body cleaning himself, maintaining the body healthy. And you can trigger both of these processes with ketosis, with intermittent fasting, basically.
Okay. So you just mentioned that kicks in when you're sort of like not eating for 24 hours, right? Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
That's a long period.
Yeah, basically, so people will understand.
Yeah.
When you are eating, the body prefers to make energy from carbohydrates. So first it will make energy from carbohydrates.
Yep.
Then will be fats, and at the end will be the protein.
Right.
So if you're gonna lower the amount of carbohydrates to less than 50 grams per day, that's gonna be one of the best ways to ease into ketosis. And then, as I said, at the liver level, the body will switch producing, ketones in order for you to have energy. So that's how it works, basically. Yeah.
So you extend slowly, so you don't go into it, you don't dive into it straight away like 24-hour fasting, do you? You need to do that gradually.
Because how we normally eat, we have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So then if you are looking to lose weight, and if you're not putting your specifically into caloric deficit, then you're going to be using those calories and those carbs as energy. Your body has no reason to dig into the fat stores.
Right, that's right.
Yeah.
But it's got to be doable as well, because, you know, when we talk about autophagy and, you know, before that ketosis, it's got to be doable. So we got to give the people a method, or for the viewers' sake, of how to actually benefit from that, right? So, I mean, let's divide the 24 hours into, let's say, 3. You mentioned 8 hours of eating, right?
Yeah.
So if we divide that into 3, we've got sort of like 8 hours of sleeping, right? And then you got 8 hours of eating, and then you got another 8 hours. Is that right?
Yeah.
And those are the 8 hours you have to not eat anything, basically.
Yeah.
So you got 8 hours gone and sleep, which is easy,
Yeah.
which is quite all right. And then you got the other 8 hours, which you've got to kind of like stop your craving.
Yeah, but overall you have 16 hours of fasting, you know, including
including the sleep hours.
Yeah, because, you know, you're not consuming anything and the body is not
that
going
sounds very doable, right? And a lot of people from religious backgrounds as well, they've got fasting prescribed in their faith, and we can see how important that is.
It kind of makes you wonder. It's like the people knew this from thousands of years that it's actually good for your body, but now, as the research comes out, it just shows us the benefits of doing these kind of things. But at the same time, we have to mention one important thing: this is not for everyone.
No.
As with everything, you have to go through your doctor and ask, is it the right thing for me to do this? Because there are some situations where it's not good for you. For example, old people, for example, teenagers, which are developing, for example, pregnant and breastfeeding women, it's not a good thing for them. Or people who suffer from type 1 diabetes as well. It's not a good thing for them to do.
So let's specify, you mentioned old people, teenagers, because and kids, children, they're developing. That's the time they should eat. You know, they should strengthen their metabolism and so forth, right? Yeah. So it's for people who want to sort of lose weight. So maybe they're obese, okay? And
it's a very good technique to do.
That's a very good technique. And also, you know, their diet is very, very bad, maybe. Is that a good example?
Yeah.
So in between, middle age.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So people who want to get into ketosis and they want to use intermittent fasting in order to lose weight. It's going to be a good ratio of macros. So I would say 70% should be fats.
Okay.
20%.
Fat.
20% should be protein, and 10% should be carbohydrates. Because the amount of carbohydrates you have in your diet will dictate either you're going into ketosis or you are not. Because if you're going to switch again the body from burning fat and ketones for fuel to carbs again, then obviously you're gonna lose that edge, right? So if you're
just for the explanation for the viewers, I mean, there might be a red flag going up there. 70% fat. What kind of fat we're talking about?
But then the doctors also are recommending the easiest thing to do is basically follow like a Mediterranean diet, where you use olive oil, you know, healthy oils, where you use lean protein, a lot of vegetables, and obviously not fruit, because fruit has a lot of carbs, right? A lot of sugar, so you don't want to use that. But leafy greens, you know, look at what the Mediterranean people eat. Lots of salads, fresh stuff, olive oil. Like this is the one diet to follow.
Omega-3 and stuff like that.
Yeah. But you know, if you follow like a Western diet where you have a lot of trans fats, fast food, sugary drinks, you know, it's not the right thing, right? So. We spoke in previous episodes about ultra-processed diet, processed diets. This is not the diet you want to incorporate, because with this, you're also going to get in a lot of extra calories. The bottom line is you still, and this is very important, you still have to be in a caloric deficit in order to lose weight. Because if you're going to end up eating, you know, like huge amount of food, even in those 8 hours, right?
The wrong kind of food, then you'll have a lot of empty calories which are not benefiting you, and you'll be storing a lot of that as sort of unwanted.
So that doesn't mean in those 8 hours you should just gorge as much food as possible. No, you should still be moderate. You should still be following like a healthy diet, because otherwise intermittent fasting is not going to work. And it's another thing which is important to mention, the autophagy, it's still a subject which needs to be researched. We have some good information. We have some studies which say yes, autophagy can be used for health reasons, and it can even prevent cancer cells from developing. However, some other studies will say like, no, autophagy, if it's induced willingly, it might actually stimulate cancer cells, right? So we still have some debates to, this needs to be debate to be done.
Here,
and we need to wait for the scientists and people who are researching this to give us more information. But you know, fasting is good. Some people feel very good after 24, 48 hours of fasting. And as you mentioned, in some cultures, some religions, they'll use this as well. Even in my family, a lot of my grandparents, you know, they used to fast every Wednesday and Friday. They would literally just drink water, don't eat anything.
Is that a religious thing, or is it?
It's a religious thing as well. But as I said, people knew something from thousands of years ago.
Yes,
you know?
That's very similar to, and it shows that it comes from the same roots probably. Now we don't want to go into religion because it's not about. But you know, even in the Muslim culture or the Islamic religion, is the Mondays and Thursdays. There's 2 days they fast, and then we get once 1 month for the whole year. And this is related, why? Because what we spoke about, obviously intermittent fasting is not that, because religiously we fast like from sunset to sunrise, from sunrise to sunset, the other way around. But it gives you, depending on the time of the year, it gives you a good, 14, 15 hours, sometimes even more, or sometimes a little bit less. But just to understand first of all, if you do intermittent fasting, right? So this is like the first stage, okay? And then you go to something called ketosis, because it releases ketones in your body. And then the interesting thing is autophagy and what it actually means. What you've mentioned, saying self-eating. So it's because you haven't eaten anything, right? So when the body starts to eat itself, is when there's no more maybe fat left or carbohydrates left in the body. Is that what it is? Because this is how I'm getting to understand.
Even if you do fasting for like 72 hours, obviously there's still going to be a lot of glycogen left and a lot of fat stores left in your body. You can't get rid of that, right? Yes. But the thing is, when the body is used with ingesting all these fats, all this food, it's going to be using those calories which you just ingested, right? But if you don't, then that's a trigger for the body. They say, okay, something's going on, and this process is triggered, and then it's all this cleansing, because the body is not focused on digesting that food. The body can look after something else.
When you say cleansing, when you say cleansing, I think like detoxation, cleansing of the organs.
At the cell level. Because you speak, at like a macro level, cleansing, becoming, like getting rid of the toxins. But the autophagy happens on like a very, very small level, at the cellular level, right? Yeah, and then overall, that's detoxing. But autophagy happens at the cellular level, because every single day, we probably lose millions to billions of cells, right? But then new ones are emerging. But in that process of cells dying, through autophagy, the body will recycle certain elements from the cell, will clean the cell. So it doesn't automatically kill it, because if you kill all the cells, we will get atrophy. Atrophy means you're losing, your tissues, basically. So that's how it works, basically.
So we don't want to go to atrophy, right?
No.
Because we don't want to lose tissues. But when it's in a cellular level, right? So is it replacing cells and creating good cells, new cells? One of the things,
So it will create a new cell, or it will just cleanse the cell. It will make it work better. It work better.
Does that go to DNA level as well? Because sometimes we hear about recreating DNA, because there's a certain age that you actually lose the DNA. Is that correct, or something like that, or something?
It can. So DNA can be damaged, right, through certain elements.
Yeah.
It can be, our food, excessive sunlight, the UV can damage the light, basically these ultrasounds, which you get from the Wi-Fi, from Bluetooth, from cell phones. Those are some elements which can damage it.
Okay.
But autophagy is a way to preserve DNA.
Preserve DNA.
Yes,
Okay, so
yes.
That's
so it does help. Yeah.
I wanted to get something that would relate to that, because that's really important. And what you just mentioned, that we lose or DNAs are damaged, and we need maybe new DNA, or if we can. I mean, there's a certain age that you don't really produce new DNA.
Yeah.
But there are some food that I've heard of that actually can create new DNA, which is beneficial for the body, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so if you were to give a few tips just to the viewers to do correct intermittent fasting, something that it will benefit them, and not to go into it in a way that after a while they will give up, because it's something that we need to sustain as well for a longer period of time. As you know, people go into a lot of diets and then they can't keep up with it. So what are the tips that you will give so that they can sustain it?
Yeah, so first thing I would say, you have to understand that you need to be consistent, with anything. Like if you're going into a diet, you need to understand that you have to give it some time for it to work. If you do it for 2 days and then you're gonna stop, get discouraged, it's not going to work, right? So what you need to do is, first thing, say, okay, this is how I'm going to set up 8 hours. I'm going to eat from 8 in the morning, until, what's that, like 6 in the evening, right? Or something like that. And then we're going to make sure that the foods that we are choosing, they are healthy, right? So we try to remove all the junk from the diet. And then in order to trigger the ketosis, make sure you are dropping the carbs. So don't eat more than 50 grams of carbs per day. That's when I just mentioned a couple of minutes ago, 70% fat, 20% will be protein, and 10% carbs. So the carbs have to be very low. Look into Mediterranean diet. Lots of healthy fats, leafy greens, some vegetables, and lean protein. That will be your go-to diet.
Fantastic, brilliant. Thank you, Raz, for explaining that to us. And just for the viewers, hope you benefit from this information, and hope you can incorporate this in your lifestyle, because it will definitely, the rest of the years, it will definitely give you a good sort of healthy and a quality of life. So it's all to do with what you eat. Now, from the tips that I've got from Raz, is first of all, you need to have a plan on how to be consistent, because you can start off with something and after a few days or a few weeks, you give up on that. And we all know about every year we have a New Year's resolution and we say, oh, we're going to stop this, we're going to start this, and then it doesn't really go that far. So consistency is very, very important. So first of all, to be consistent, make the correct plan. Secondly, choose healthy food, healthy diet. As we always say, choose healthy, but we need to learn about what healthy food is. And everything that we get on the maybe social media and everything, it might not always be healthy. So do your own research, dig deep into the health factors and learn about processed food, ultra-processed food, whole food, what the difference is, and why a whole meal or whole food is important. So when you do that, you need to understand which of the food has a lot of carbs in it. So drop the carbs, decrease the carbohydrates, and you want more healthy fats, okay? And as Raz has mentioned, look into a Mediterranean diet. What does that entail? What kind of food they have? And it just gives you longevity as well. It's really, really amazing that the food that you eat can actually alter the lifestyle, the way you feel, you know, tiredness, fatigue, even how the brain works. So
people in the Mediterranean, on the Mediterranean diet,
Yeah.
who are living close to the Mediterranean Sea, they are known to live the longest, right?
Yeah. So this is what I was mentioning. So
Yeah, the centenaries, most of them are over there.
Yeah. Again, I mean, we used to think that, you know, brain is something that controls the whole of the body, and which is correct up to a certain extent, but you have to feed the brain the correct things, and that's you know, through the guts, right? So what you eat, what's in your stomach, that actually goes to the brains and the rest of the body. So, you know, gut is very, very important, and what you put in it. Okay, and so we said more fat, more good fats, and that's what we talked about, a Mediterranean diet, and we did say less carbs, right? Yeah. Less carbs.
Below 50 grams per day.
Yeah.
Would be ideal.
So hope you enjoyed the show. Hope the information that we've given is beneficial. I'm definitely learning. And so until next time, Assalamu alaikum.